Hello, people of the internet, and welcome. My name is Daniel K. Hargrove, also known as Daniel the DM, across all corners of the internet, and this is Yap Session, the show where I yap about whatever I want. I'm so happy for you to be here. Listen, if you want access to the podcast early, all you got to do is head over to patreon.com/Daniel K. Hargrove, and you get it early. What a deal. Pay whatever you want, whatever you think you can afford, whatever it is. And even if you subscribe to the Patreon for free, you get stuff for free. So, with all that being said, thank you to everyone who's been supporting. Everyone's been supporting a lot of the efforts I've been doing, especially with trying to make sure that my partner and I, that we get to PAX U in November. I'm super excited to head to Philly. At the Philadelphia. So Philly's on the list, and we're excited. Everything's looking like it's lining up. I have to get hotels situated this weekend, so I'm excited. But listen, as you can see, there's not been a Yap session in a few weeks. Listen, I haven't done an episode of the podcast in a couple weeks because I just needed to take in what was happening in the United States of America. And let me tell you, I have not been impressed. I have not been impressed by my countrymen or my fellow content creators or, people who I've known since I was in middle school and high school. It's been a lot of just sheer shock, awe, and disappointment these past few weeks. But also, I shouldn't be surprised, What are you going to do? I think that's part of the reason why I haven't recorded. I think I've been in a weird place. I've been stun-locked by the horrors of the world and everything that's surrounding me, it encroaching upon me as someone who lives in the South. But then also I'm in a place where, you see the Daggerheart book there, big things are happening behind the scenes, professionally for me, that are some of the biggest developments I've seen within this space. So I'm constantly living in between this fluctuation of states of pushing forward towards great changes and hoping things truly pan out into, life-changing opportunities and being able to convert social media clout into stable income, right? However, again, you can't ignore everything that's happening in the world. You really can't. And it's very interesting to see the people around you who've never commented on anything, be it in private conversations or public conversations, etc. What gains their interest these past couple weeks? What drives them to speak? What drives them to really say, guys, this country has gotten out of hand. What's going on, America? What drives people to say, enough is enough. It's about time that we as a nation stand together and protest and boycott. There has not been a single instance of America or any sort of governmental entity infringing upon human rights. That has required me to divest. Then the past events of recent weeks. It's interesting, man. I think this has been an interesting reflection on the selectiveness of humanity. Right. Listen, also, I'm just gonna get this out the way, buddy. If you don't like it when your content creators are political, discuss how they feel about things going on in the world, this might be new for the YouTube audience. Buddy, you might have wanted to Google me before before you ended up subscribing. But listen, I've been reflecting on the selectiveness of humanity, right? Who is and is not human? Who deserves empathy or not? I think that has been the interesting reflection of September. And I think in reflecting on these things, I'm just reminded that I've already learned this lesson a long time ago. I've already learned this a long time ago. Let me tell you a story. So there I am in middle school. Another sleepover at my friend's place. Now you have to keep in mind, I'm growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina. Family, single mother, working the best that she can, along with other people in my family, to make sure that I'm going to a good school, right? Trying to make ends meet for me to be able to go to a good school. So because of that, a lot of the friends that I end up making around this area, you know how everything is like gerrymandered and everything has the districts and all that sort of stuff. Like we're right on the cusp, right? We were like right on the cusp of where we were living of like what school district I'd be going to. You know what I mean? And so because of where I was, I grew up around a lot of affluent non-people of color in the area that I grew up in. You know, so I had a lot of, diverse friend groups growing up. And so one of these days I found myself at a sleepover, right? We're having a grand old time. We're playing, what is it, Call of Duty. We're chatting it up. We're listening to music. I think Young Money, Cash Money is still going, going strong. There's a new artist named Drake out there making the waves. But we're sitting there, and I don't remember how the news came on. I believe the friend whose place I was staying at, their dad always had the news on like one of the TVs. And so in the midst of all the joy and fun and revelry, and there's like 5 or 6 of us there, there ends up being a notification on the news. Yes, this just hit right inside the courthouse. George Zimmerman found not guilty on all charges. Stunned. I look at the murder of Trayvon Martin, and I see someone who's almost the same age as me. And I'm watching the way that people talk about him. And that the moment he became a body in the street, all of the humanity about him was stripped away. Well, then he shouldn't have looked suspicious. Well, then he shouldn't have done this. And he should have done that. Well, the law's the law. What do you want them to do? And so, in that moment, grief overtakes me. There's a reflection of my safety, of who I am, what this nation means. I think verbatim, I say something like, that's fucked up. This is fucking horrible. One of the kids, a young Caucasian male, we'll call him Neb. Neb turns around. What are you talking about, Daniel? No, it's not. I say, excuse me? It's not a tragedy. This is the only right outcome for this. Whole room goes quiet. I'm getting angry. no, what happened is fucked up. I think it's murder. I don't care what the law says. Never forget this. He leans in. Then he says, Trayvon Martin got exactly what he deserved. I don't think it's particularly the words that haunted me. Or like how I was like looking at someone who I spent all this time with for years, growing close with, just seeing the humanity just, right? Just the light of viewing me as a human being just leave their eyes, right? It's just gone, right? I think it's part of it, but it's not everything. Then I start thinking about the silence in the room. All these other non-black friends, one's Japanese, Puerto Rican, one's white, one black. But no one spoke up. No one said anything. So in that moment, I got a microcosm of what America can truly be like. Smile in your face, value you, call you a friend, appreciate your contributions. But once the right conditions are met, your humanity, it's nothing. It means nothing. And so that's what I've been witnessing yet again. It was kind of like this past few weeks for me is that constant reminder of, oh yeah, that's right. I can know somebody for decades. But under the right circumstances, I don't mean anything to them. And I know that's not for every single person I've ever met. That's not me blaming certain individuals or certain groups of people. It's not like that. What I'm talking about is the social conditioning that we have for who does and does not deserve empathy. And it's just fascinating to see people I've known who've never had a backbone in their body. Combine them all together, you couldn't even find a single spinal cord in between them. Right? To come to posting online, to have the audacity to tell me who I should and should not grieve. That's what I've been reflecting on over these past few weeks. You learn a lot in silence. You learn a lot by sitting and listening to those around. And when you stay quiet, seeing who speaks up and what they speak up about and when they speak up. But I learned that a long time ago. I think this was just a shell-shocking reminder of that lesson. It's terrifying. I see people post about that similar thing of like, I didn't know that this person I shared so much time with and valued, and I know they're capable of love and empathy. I've spent time with them. I've broken bread. We have shared love and memories, but they hate me or aspects of me or my culture, right? They hate gay people. They hate trans people. They hate immigrants. I don't understand where all this hate is coming from in their heart when I've known them to be someone full of so much love and compassion. And I've dealt with that ever since I was a child, when I'm getting yelled at, called slurs ever since I was in elementary school. And thinking I found safe haven and protection in the community and friend groups that I had built up over the years, I thought I finally had some form of safety, and then the silence came. And those moments happen over and over, time and time and time and time again. And sometimes I faced it, and sometimes I tried to hide my head in the sand, right? I think that's also too of like part of the reason I've struggled to retain certain friends or friends groups over the years, is my inability, or it has been my inability, to stand up for myself. Because I constantly found myself in environments where no one stood up for me. How do I advocate for myself when even the people I thought were closest won't even? But the selectiveness, the conditioning of selectiveness and who does and does not deserve. Fascinating. I think going back to that situation with Neb, I think the thing that struck me the most was, that could have been me. Think of all the times that we snuck out the house, the whole group of us, and then we went, it's 3:00 in the morning, and then we went to the gas station to get some snacks, get some drinks and candy. Came back. Walking, being loud in the middle of the night, bunch of school kids breaking curfew. Especially when we were doing things we know we shouldn't have been doing, right? But Trayvon, he had gotten what he deserved. Be wary of anyone who tells you who to hate. You know? I think that goes for things. Of those who seek to cause division and mask it as a difference of opinion, who promote bigotry as just a way of life, and denounce people's natural state of harmless existence as abomination. I don't care what book you found it in thousands of years ago. A human being is a human being. It's as simple as that. I know, heavy start to the podcast, am I right? But it's important to have these conversations. But with all that being said, this week's episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Fellas, are you having trouble shaving your balls? No, I'm fucking with you. Can you imagine if that's actually how I You imagine if that's actually how I ended the segment? Oh my God. Listeners, Yap Session, baby. Doesn't mean there's always something good going on in the world, man. Been putting off doing this for a minute, but it was worth it. You learn a lot. You learn a lot. Yeah, everyone's welcome here except for the people who don't welcome others. What's up? Free the guys, protect the dolls. You know what it is. You know what it is. Listen, as this episode's going up, let me tell you something, my friend. I do have announcements, just real quick. Sunday, September 28th, I believe. What does my phone say? Yep, 28th of September. The Talkback Forbidden is happening, big dog. So be there, be square. The whole cast. Get some conversations going. Ask us questions about what you thought about Daggerheart, our Daggerheart actual play Bitten. All right, a joint production between Hit Chronicles and Docking XP. So check that out. All right, check that out. Every Wednesday, Fears and Fortunes, presented by the good folks over at Forgotten Adventures. Every Wednesday, 9 p.m. EST. All episodes available on YouTube at Forgotten Adventures. Check that out. Get on shine. Check it out. I think that's all I have to promote. I think I'm all wrapped up on shows. I think I got a couple of one-shots coming out, but besides that, it's recording my first actual play that I am producing and GMing in private. But with the way that shoot schedule is going, I don't know. I might throw in some more dates. I might do some more one-shots like I did the other day. What do y'all think about that Daggerheart one-shot I did, huh? Should I do some more one-shots, my friends? Let me know. I'm streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Daniel the DM. I'm doing that. Staying busy. Trying to play that Ghost of Yote next week. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to do some Baldur's Gate. Maybe a little bit of Marvel Rivals. We'll see. But I think that's all the news, updates, all that jazz. All right. Deep breath in. Breath out. Listen, man. I know escapism is a powerful thing. It's powerful to be able to roll dice with our friends and play D&D and play all these games to try to get away from all the horrors of the world, even though we all know that capitalism is your big bad evil guy, like in so many of your campaigns, right? As the joke goes. But in all seriousness, it is equally important that you are taking time to find joy in the things that you do and in the hobbies that you love, whether it's playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons or being in games online with your friends or going out with your friends, etc. You need to reset your battery. You cannot exist solely in the doom and gloom and the terrors of this world, especially when everything that we engage with is engineered to overstimulate us and to overwhelm us, to overpower our senses and make us feel helpless and hopeless. So it is important that you are hanging out with your friends, that you're making new friends, that you are going outside, that you are forming bonds, you are building community, but also that you have to, in some way, shape, or form, stay aware of what is happening. Not only just for the things that directly affect you or the people you care about, but the people you care about the least or don't think about at all. You need to care about them and be aware of what is happening globally. Because Malcolm X once said, the chickens have come home to roost. But also, it's also the fact that the escapism is not a solution. It's not. It is not going to fix your problems being able to hide from them. You still need to be aware of what's going on in the world, but you need to find balance because you cannot live in anxiety, in heartbreak, and a constant sense of survival mode and danger. Trust me, I am trying as well. I never said it was easy. I never said it was easy, baby. No, let's not get it twisted. But it's important that you find that balance. You have to. Because we as human beings are not designed to live in one state of being at all times. Right? Homeostasis, all that. Drink your water. Go outside. Get that exercise in where you can. Be loud and proud where you can. Voice yourself where you can. But listen, what do we want to talk about today for our main topics, huh? What are we talking about? I think I got like 2 things I really want to talk about. I want to talk about, this will be pretty quick too. Not going to be a long one. But I wanted to talk about playing Candela Obscura for the first time. And I want to talk about playing Draw Steel. Played those games. Talk about it. So first things first, let's start off with Candela Obscura. So I played an offline one-shot of Candela Obscura for the first time. And I gotta say, I feel bad. I feel bad for people who like that game. Because after playing it, I get it. It's really fun. When you're not listening to people online and you just try the game out for yourself. I didn't have any preconceived notion of what the game was supposed to be like. I never even saw a Critical Role play it. It's also probably part of the problem, but of content for the game. But I never saw Critical Role play it. So I was like, I have no expectation of what the game was like. But it was just so fun. Like, it scratched this itch I didn't know my brain had for like this paranormal investigation game. That I didn't know I had. And I came off of playing Call of Cthulhu recently as well for the first time. But I think a key difference is the game actually wants you to more so engage with the horrors rather than run away from them or just only try to survive them. Like, part of Candela Obscura is figuring out what's going on. And now, whether or not you survive to fix it or if there is even a solution, well, that's a whole other thing. But the investigation aspect of delving into these situations to figure out what's happening and these paranormal things that you're investigating or supernatural, whatever, that's part of it. And that aspect of the game is really, really fun, and the mechanics around it. And it's super simple, super easy to play. And I think the key difference is when you're describing this game, it's like the difference between almost like Resident Evil and like Outlast, if we're taking video game comparisons, right? Or like styles of horror game. And I don't mean that in the sense of like tone of like, it's this goofy, campy sort of game when it comes to Candela Obscura. I mean that in the sense that it is, in some way, shape, or form, you were given tools to fight back, right? Rather as in the horrors that you experience in a game like Call of Cthulhu is something more akin to something like Outlast, where it's like, no, you are just experiencing things. Things are going to happen to you. There may be stats that you have about your physicality and what you can try to do physically to things or try to attack or defend yourself, but that does not matter because the entities that you are facing are grander than the physical, right? So the lethality is built into it, and they're both very lethal games. But the lethality is built into it to where it's like you are just a regular human being and you are more than likely be a victim to whatever forces are around you if they take notice of you. So I think those 2 different approaches, make a world of difference in the type of game that's happening. And I think, there's a place for each of them. And there's so much that I want to do with Call of Cthulhu now after playing it. Somehow this became a Call of Cthulhu video at the same time. But I only bring that up for the sense of as a point of reference. And regardless, yeah, I really enjoyed what I played, and specifically in order to further delve into that, that's why I played the soldier class that was available in Candela Obscura. And I kind of played them as this, like a veteran who had this paranormal experience overseas, right? And lost his squad. And that's that's what motivated him to join up with Candela Obscura and investigate more of paranormal things that were happening. But in playing the soldier class, I really found that, yeah, I got to be a part of the story, and I got to take initiative in certain places, and I got to contribute, and it didn't feel wasted being someone who was all about taking action and trying to take control of a situation and using physical force in order to try to solve their problems, even though you're dealing with certain paranormal or magical situations. So I was really happy about that. I had a really fun time. Yes, it is more roleplay heavy, but there are some interesting mechanical choices that can be made. And it's just a really engaging game. And I really want to play a more long-term game, maybe like 5 or 6 sessions. I'd really like to delve into with that, with Candela, because I think there's just so much potential there for what's possible. And it's super exciting to see the kind of almost like base building aspects of building up your own circle of Candela Obscura, which is basically like your own organization, your own secret society, and how that affects the gameplay as well. And the resource management aspect that you have to make collectively as a team. Super interesting, super engaging, and I want more of it. I want more of a taste of that. So I'm excited to hop back into Candela. It's been really, really fun. It's not scratching that tactical itch inside of my brain too much, because, there's always that little optimancer part of my brain that's always active, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Who knows what the future holds. But but circling back to what I initially said when I was starting this segment, but I do feel bad for people who love Candela Obscura because it's a fun game. And I don't know what's ever going to happen with that game. Sure, like Critical Role is doing a few one-shots. But man, that'd be such a fun game to get more expansions for, more playable classes, more adventures, more features, or I don't know, circle abilities and all that sort of stuff. Man, there's so much fun that could be had with this system. And it's so simple and it's so easy to play. So I do feel bad for people who are fans of Candela, man, because the game's really good. It's really, really fun. This is someone who's coming from D&D, someone who's coming from Daggerheart. It's fun, man. It's a super engaging game. It's a ton of fun. My hair doing? Jesus, what's going on here? Well, listen, I think that's about it on my thoughts on Candela. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend playing it, giving it a shot. It was really, really fun. Getting to play that for a one-shot. But now we got to talk about the other one-shot that I did. Oh, I can already hear the comment section. Oh, brother. Give me 1 second. I need to look up what the name of this adventure is for Draw Steel, the base adventure. I think it's called something of something. I know, real specific. The something of something. Draw Steel level 1 adventure. I think MCDM ended up playing it on their YouTube channel. It's, I believe, one of the base adventures for Draw Steel. I hope this is really engaging for you all as I type as quickly as possible. Yeah, the Delian tomb. Yeah, the Delian. Yeah, I think it's Delian. Says, well, actually, it's a Delian. You don't know how to pronounce it. I can already hear the comment sections. All right. Let's do this. Okay. Let's talk about Draw Steel, because I've got some thoughts. I know a lot of people might not like what I have to say. Want to say, okay, let me put out 1,001 disclaimers before I get very, very long essays in my comment section. This is a first impressions of playing Draw Steel. It was a one shot. Okay, it was the Delian tomb or Delian, whatever it is. What we played. These are not my final thoughts on the system, just my first impressions from this session. Okay? Any feelings or criticisms that I have of this experience is not a personal attack on you. You enjoy Draw Steel. Nor is it a slight towards the creators of Draw Steel. Now, you probably think, Daniel, there is no reason to be this hyper-specific and laying the groundwork before you give an opinion. And let me remind you that this is the internet. Okay? This is the internet. So with all that being said, overall, I think the system will be a ton of fun for the right people. Whether or not I am the right person for that system, I'm unsure for multiple reasons that we'll get into. So from what it seems this system is trying to accomplish is trying to create that feeling of you're basically superheroes right out the gate, of strong heroic fantasy at all times. It's about always, all the time, doing the coolest thing possible tactically, and also it's really cool and it looks cool and it feels cool. And it's very lethal, right? Again, after we had finished the one shot, we kind of had a discussion, and I was like, I think I was the one who said it. I was like, this kind of feels like someone trying to make like a modern heroic fantasy game, but with someone who's like design philosophies and in mindset and world building and lore building and all that sort of stuff is still coming from like 3.5 D&D or older, right? That's what it kind of feels like. Do I think it's successful in my first impressions at fulfilling the heroic fantasy? I think Draw Steel is successful at replicating a power fantasy, right? Because you always deal damage. You always have something cool you can do, which I appreciate, whether it's in your movement, whether it's in your maneuvers or your main action, etc. Or I forget what all the it still has like bonus action, reaction, movement, but like they're named different things. I cannot remember them all off the top of my head. I also do apologize. This was like 3 weeks ago that we played this, but I've just been kind of sitting there with my opinions. And yeah, there's always something cool you could do. I played a wizard. We made our own characters, which I think was critically important to my enjoyment. But I made my own level 1 void elementalist, right? So I'm teleporting all over the place, and it is fulfilling a fantasy for me that I've always wanted, which is like this Nightcrawler aspect of like, I want a character who can teleport all the time, and I did get that. I could teleport as a reaction all over the place, as a bonus action all over the place, teleport my friends. I got to be this cool teleporting tactician. This subclass definitely felt like it was meant to be more of like a hit and run melee sort of like spell blade sort of mesh, because you do get the option to have light armor and a weapon. And I tried equipping that, but the character builder we were using was terrible. So it didn't, wouldn't let me do that. It was messy in that regard. But so I couldn't do that. And so I had to play it as like a traditional at range sort of wizard, which is not really what I wanted to do, but there's limitations of the technology we were using while putting together this one shot. I think the big hang up for me as we got to the end of the session, and we did some cool stuff, add the traps and all this sort of stuff. I love the tactical aspect of this game. Like, do not get that twisted. Yes, I can do the role play, the whole 9 yards, right? The acting, blah, 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 blah. I can do that aspect perfectly fine. However, I love the tactical aspect of games like Dungeons and Dragons and the war game roots of it. And I love that playing this game reminded me of playing Fire Emblem, right? Of just like measuring out the squares and like how every single bit of movement that you do matters. The range of abilities using full squares. Like, I love the tactical combat aspect of this game, right? I think the big hang up for me is the core selling point of the game, actually, which is you deal damage all the time. You never miss. And I think for me personally, that takes away one of the fundamental things that makes a hero's journey so captivating, and that's failure. Like, by the time we were in hour 3, I genuinely was bored of, to a certain degree, of the combat. It's just, okay, yeah, I deal damage. And there was no critically failing and critically succeeding. To me personally, create some of the most captivating and emotionally engaging aspects of playing a tabletop game, right? And specifically a game like a Dungeons and Dragons, a heroic fantasy style game, right? When we're talking about heroic fantasy, when we're talking about power fantasy, you can't, to me personally, you don't really get to have your cake and eat it too without without the possibility of great failure as well. And sure, the argument is that, well, but you're a highly trained, capable individual who is just an expert marksman. You should always be hitting those shots. It doesn't make any sense for you to miss. Yeah, but then also the group of goblins that we fought never missed. And sure, you can mitigate all these things with armor and or whatever other mechanics that are there. I couldn't really do that. I was a squishy little wizard. It is what it is. That's why I had to stay in the back, right? But it's just sitting there and I'm just like, okay, what else? Cool, we do damage. The tactical aspect of it is there. But to me, I know it sounds strange, but that is a critical part of the game that I was missing. And the number one argument against, rolling to see if you hit is it doesn't feel good to wait all of that time and then you get nothing on your turn, which is true, right? That does not feel good. But there are so many other systems beyond Dungeons and Dragons that do different things to reward a player or create their engaging roles, even if you miss, right? Whether it's a fear system like in Dungeons, like in Daggerheart or in Hope system, whether you're talking about a stress mechanic, whether you're talking about drive, there's so many other mechanics in TTRPGs where you're still in some way, shape, or form being involved with what's happening, right? And also initiative plays a big factor in that. You have rigid turn-based combat in Dungeons and Dragons, which is why that happens. And there is a open form, somewhat of initiative on the player and enemy side of everyone collaborating to choose who goes next, which adds to the tactical element. But that doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't make up for that for me. You know, like there's just this disconnect in intention in like, and it's not saying that you can't die. It's a very lethal game. It has that, again, that old school dungeon crawling feel to it. It's just oozing every single aspect of this game. Like it wants to be crunchy. It wants to have a whole bunch of cumbersome rules. It wants to have so many different things that like the session super slow. And it's like, yes, we were learning the game, but like it just felt like so many things, even from the character creation process, were overly complicated and just such a chore to get through. Like the selecting even just selecting like your background traits and culture, like was just so, it felt so unnecessarily complicated. And at the end of the day, I still don't feel like I came out with something more interesting, you know? Like, I don't really feel like I was rewarded for that investment. And it's just, so many things just felt needlessly convoluted and overly cumbersome and rules heavy. And I don't really feel like I gained anything from always doing damage. Like, it's just like, yeah, sure, I always do the cool thing. After a while, that no longer, for me personally, found any interest. But I can still see myself wanting to come back and try this system with the right group of players. And we start from the very, very beginning, stripping down what we want out of the system, the specific type of story that we want to tell, and trying to tailor a story that specifically fits this system, and really go through and see everything that the system has to offer, right? Because this is just a first impressions. This isn't my definitive feelings on this. I could play, let's say, 6 to 10 sessions of a game or a campaign or an adventure or something like that, and I could get to the end of it and I'd be like, oh my gosh, guys, this is the go-to. It's better than anything out there. It's better than Pathfinder. It's better than Dagger, blah, blah, blah. And also being better than other systems doesn't matter, right? Just, sorry, I didn't mean to hit my microphone, but being better than other systems doesn't matter. Just play the games that fit your table, that you enjoy, that are fun, and it fits the type of story that you're trying to tell. Like, it doesn't matter what system's better than the other. It's just about what system's right for your table. And I think I need to find the right table for this system in order to see everything it truly has to offer. But I will say, personally speaking, if I was not a content creator, I would not come back to this game. I'm gonna be real. Like, there's so many other games out there that I want to try that I would not come back to spend session after session after session trying to see if I can make this game work or if it fits for me. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I would just stick with the one shot and be like, we're good to go. I've seen what I wanted to see. I'm out of here. And yeah, man, it's, I don't know. I was not a fan of what I experienced. I did not enjoy what I experienced, but I am leaving room for coming back and being, swayed by the system and seeing what it has to say and what it has to offer. And, again, I'm not going to engage it like it's Dungeons and Dragons. I'm always going to engage a game based on its own merits, right? I'm not trying to force a game to be something that it's not. I'm not trying to force this game to be Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not trying to force this game to be Daggerheart, or like nothing, you know. Draw Steel is Draw Steel. And I don't think, and I want to make this clear, this is not me advocating for saying they need to add roll to hit for this game. No. The always doing damage is a part of the identity of this game, right? It's a part of the identity. Like, I'm not saying you should take that away. But there's just a lot about this game that just, I don't know, it just was not vibing with me. Also, the amount of resources management was not a lot going into it, but it wasn't great having to deal with. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes in the future. I have a lot of complicated feelings about it, but I see the potential. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever been in like one of those situations where you're looking at something and you're like, oh, I feel like I need to come back, because if I do this right and under the right circumstances, this could be so much fun and so interesting and so captivating. Especially if you're going in with a group of friends and you build something from scratch. You know, you build a world from scratch in this system, and you build everything up, and the language and the backgrounds and the culture. Like, there's so much fun to be had of just getting a group of friends together if you're starting with Draw Steel and building from the ground up with it. I can see the potential there. And I don't know who's been saying this also, I do not think this game is easier to learn than any other system out there. It's pretty cumbersome on the rules and the mechanics, at least from my experience. But at the end of the day, you know, this is just the first impressions. This is not the last time I'm going to talk about this game. I'm going to find a way to play this game again and find a table to play this with, and see how I enjoy my experience later. The abilities were cool. The teamwork aspect of the game is really captivating. The tactical aspect of the game is the best part of the game, and it's super, super fun. Again, it scratches like that itch, that tactical itch in my brain, like when I'm playing Fire Emblem or something like that, or Unicorn Overlord, of like just any strategy RPG. Like, oh, it hits it bad. It's like my dopamine was popping off when I was looking at them squares and planning out my attacks. So that aspect of the game is great. But I'm debating on whether or not mechanically the game truly matches its core ethos of being a heroic fantasy in general. But yeah, you know, just my first impressions. Things will change, or you know, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to be interested in seeing what the feedback on this is going to be. Because I know there's so much tribalism in the TTRPG space, which is why I have to add that disclaimer at the beginning. Because people just don't like to hear people's opinions, I guess, if it's not exactly saying what they already feel about something. And yeah, and listen, I've been super excited about this game. I've running the game, designing the game with Matt Koval has been a staple of my journey into the TTRPG space ever since I started playing. I've been watching, you know, Matt's videos. So watching the development of this game go on ever since the OGL debacle and all that sort of stuff was super engaging to watch. And it's super fun to play something that you saw the like initial concept and idea for and watch it evolve. So it's really interesting to see it actually coming to fruition, which is pretty cool. But with all that being said, I think that's all I got to say about Draw Steel. Let me know what you think of Draw Steel in the comment sections down below. What should I do? Should I play it? Play another again? What should I do to mix it up? Any other recommendations for playing Draw Steel? Let me know. I'm sure you all will. But, you know, let me know what you think about the system down below. I think that's about it, gang. I think it's about that time to sign off. I've been yapping for quite some time. I think we're good here. I think it's time. to sign off. Well, listen, gang, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it was a fun time for you, as it was for me. And I hope that find some joy today. Find some peace. Find some balance. That you're kind to yourself. You need to be kind to yourself during these times. Be kind to others. Look out for others. Look out for your neighbors. Build community. Learn what mutual aid is if you don't already know. Be there for those in need. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. In general, what's going on in the world. Just grow as an individual, as a human being. Grow. But with all that being said, people of the internet, my name is Daniel K. Hargrove, also known as Daniel the DM. You can find me. It's Daniel the DM. It don't matter. Shout out to the patrons. We're the guys. Protect the dolls. You know what I mean? If you like this video, hey, hit that like button. Subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, hype the video. God, that's going to date videos so bad. When you're watching these videos like 5 years from now, they're like, don't forget to hit the hype button. And then it's just not there anymore. I give it like 6 months, you know? But yeah, do all the things, interact, the things that appease the algorithm. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. All that being said, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Peace and love in and of itself are an act of revolution. Peace.